Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to Starting the Right Way 5-minute devotion for December 2nd, 2020. How's everyone doing today? All right, so right before coming on, God led me to Exodus, and I felt like He's really trying to impress upon me to let myself know, to let you guys know when it seems impossible, right? When there seems to be no way out, God will provide that way out. Okay, let's take a look at verses and then we'll come back talking about it. All right, so today's reading comes from Exodus 14:13 through 31. Okay, and this is just as the Israelites are up against the Red Sea and they have the not the Israelites, the Egyptians behind them and the Red Sea, or the Red Sea behind them and the Egyptians in front of them, whichever way they were facing, right? So they had nowhere else to go, and they clearly needed a miracle. So picking up from verse 13, it says, Moses spoke to the people, "Don't be afraid, stand firm, and watch God do his work of salvation for you today. Take a good look at the Egyptians today, for you're never going to see them again. God will fight the battle for you, and you need to keep your mouth shut." That's what it says. I'm reading from the Message today. That's why I love the Message. Verse 15 says, God said to Moses, "Why cry out to me? Speak to the Israelites and order them to get moving. Hold your staff high and stretch your hand out over the sea, split the sea, and the Israelites will walk right on through it." Okay. Meanwhile, the Egyptians were breathing down their necks, right? And God said, "Meanwhile, I'll make sure the Egyptians keep up their stubborn chase. I'll use Pharaoh and his entire army, his chariots and horsemen, to put my glory on display so that the Egyptians will realize that I am God." The angel of God shifted from where they were in the front of the Israel camp to behind them. Okay, so the angel of the Lord shifted his position and went to protect the Israelites from the backside. Okay. He was, at that time they were traveling in under the cloud of the Lord, and the cloud was now between the camp of Egypt and the camp of Israel. All right, so no matter what they did, no matter how the Egyptians tried to break through and reach the Israelites, they couldn't. All right, because the angel of the Lord was preventing them. Then Moses outstretched his hand and over the sea and God. And I can't imagine this scene. I know some films have tried to do it, but I can't imagine what this must have looked like. With a terrific east wind all night long, made the sea go back. He made the sea dry ground and the sea waters split. The Israelites walked straight through on dry ground with the waters as a wall to their right and to their left. The Egyptians said, "Run from Israel. God is fighting on their side and against Egypt." God said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand over the sea and the waters will come back over the Egyptians." So after all the Israelites had crossed over, then the cloud of fire disappeared and the Egyptians started going through that same dry lands, right? But God instructed Moses, "Stretch out your hand over the sea, and the waters will come back over the Egyptians, over their chariots and over their horsemen." Moses stretched his hand out over the seas. As the day broke and the Egyptians were running, the sea returned to its place as before. God dumped the Egyptians in the middle of the sea. The waters returned, drowning the chariots and the riders of Pharaoh's army that had chased after Israel into the sea. Not one of them survived. But the Israelites walked right through the middle on dry ground, the waters forming a wall to the right and the left. And God delivered Israel that day from the oppression of the Egyptians. And Israel looked at the Egyptian dead washed up on the shore of the sea and realized the tremendous power that God brought against the Egyptians. The people were in reverent awe before God and trusted in God and his servant Moses. All right, there is a lot of stuff in this portion of scripture. Okay, a couple of things that God highlighted to me. Okay, God will use an entire nation. In this circumstance, he used the entire nation of Egypt, okay, to bring about his glory. Okay, so Pharaoh's heart was so hardened that his only purpose was to kill the Israelites and get the Israelites, and he was angry and full of rage, and there was nothing he could do because God was using him to bring about God's own glory. Okay, and God cannot be stopped. If God has said something, it will come to pass. Okay, and years before, God had told Abraham that his descendants would be as great as the stars in the sky. Okay, now at this time it was estimated about 1 million or so people were crossing the Red Sea, and after they settled into their new land, they obviously grew. Okay, so that prophecy came to pass, that he had given to Abraham. So again, whatever God says is going to happen will happen. There's nothing, not one thing that man can do to outwit, to outdo God. Okay, we need to remember this, that this is God's game, right? This is God's world. This is God's creation. Okay, so he has a direct, specific plan for it, and no man, no woman is going to tear that away. Okay, so that's number one. Number two that I wanted to point out is that as Moses was crying out to the Lord said, "What are you, what are you looking at me for? Move." Okay, so there comes a point in time where we need to take our faith and apply it. Take our faith and take action, no matter what that looks like. For some of us, it could be wanting to get out of debt. So maybe we need to get another job. Maybe we need to change our spending habits. Maybe we need to do a combination of both. Some of us want to lose some weight. God can certainly, slop off 20 pounds overnight if that's what he chose to do. But my experience has been that whatever we can work for, we need to do, and what we can't work for, God will do the rest. And I feel that that's what God was saying in this portion. He's like, listen, I'm not going to magically lift you up and throw you to the other side. You have to walk. You have to move. Okay. So I think that's a very important aspect of this. And then finally, the last part of it is when God does something, he does it completely. He doesn't do it partially. Okay. By the end of whatever is occurring, whatever circumstance, it will be complete. So if there's a word on your life, if there's a word that you've received in your prayer that you'll have healing, or that you'll have finances, or whatever the case may be, you'll have a new job or a different home or move to a different state. Okay, if God has spoken that over your life in your prayer time or through others, okay, God will do it. Okay, how come? Because it says here, the waters returned, drowning the chariots and the riders of Pharaoh's army that had chased after Israel into the sea. Not one of them survived. Okay, so God took care of the whole problem. The Israelites' problem at this time was the nation of Egypt. The entire nation was taken care of. Okay, God did it in one fell swoop. Okay, so there's a few key points. There's a lot in this verse, more than I can do in 5 or 10 minutes. But I hope this was a blessing to you. Dig into this, pray over it, and may God bless you. Take care. Bye.